All right, so I'm over here with my friend Radames Soto. You guys see here, white-haired man, not too old, right? How old are you, sir?
That's not. I don't have an age.
Not important. Gods don't have age.
I don't have an age.
You don't have an age. Well,
I have a spiritual age. I have a biological age and an intellectual age.
Wow, those are three different things.
Right. Well, I think everybody has those three.
Can you go in depth in that? Can you explain?
Intellectual is your intellectual maturity, and your spiritual life, which I can give you that. I'm about 2,025 years old.
Okay, that's
it's
pretty young. Pretty young compared to me.
I know. I imagine. That's why
I'm an older god. I come from different times, though.
And then you have your biological age, which your biological age is something you choose.
Okay. Is that the one that we tell everybody we have? Is that the one? Or is that the one that you feel?
No, it's
your internal one.
Exactly.
Okay. And what is the one that we tell everybody?
I don't know. I don't
just
do
a made up number.
Yeah, I don't have anything to do that, because that age you tell yourself is very limited, because you're really grabbing after you lived gazillions of years, lifetimes. You narrow in on this little piece right here, and then you define it as such.
So this time that we're understanding now, because we're living in now. Okay, because I'm getting a little confused here. I think you're trying to confuse me. And it's not good, right? So this lifetime that we're living now is just a mere part of
many lifetimes,
our whole existence.
Right. So when you say, how old are you, just, it's like me asking you, in terms of the time we've been in this room, how old are you?
It's relative. It's relative. Right. I did a lot of work in the meantime, because I was setting up the equipment, and you were sitting over there, so your time passed a lot slower.
Oh, no. Now you're trying to confuse me.
No, I'm not. It's relative, no?
No, it's just the time that we were here.
It is. It hasn't been that long.
Doesn't matter what we did.
No, it doesn't.
Okay.
My time, but that's what I'm saying. My time went by a different way than yours.
So you think in this little time we were here, you aged differently than I did?
No, I haven't aged. I haven't aged in years.
Oh, okay.
Just so you know.
Me too.
That's how I feel.
Right, me too.
I perform like a 32-year-old every time that I'm in the gym.
Well, that's old.
And I'm not giving you my age either.
Right, okay.
But I am 41. 41. 41 is just a number.
I know, that's what I'm saying.
You know, most of the guys in the gym are a lot younger than me, and I'm still viable.
That's good.
By the way, my friend yesterday won a belt in the competition. I think I told you, but I just wanted to mention it.
Congratulations, that's great.
That, we talk about the fighting all the time. You've been telling me to watch that show.
Kingdom.
Oh,
what a great show. You know what? It's I'm not in that world of fighting, but the acting is so good.
Okay.
That anybody should see that.
Well, I haven't given it a try yet. I have to give it a try.
Because at the beginning I thought it was just going to be a fighting. No. It's a great drama.
Okay, so it goes into depth about the life of the fighter and the struggles and how.
And then it's a human story about a family that they're all fighters and what happens in that family and in a gym. It's very good. And the more you see, you go, wow, the acting is incredible.
Okay. Yeah, I got to check it out. I've been watching that Viking show that I told you, but it's a little barbaric.
Well, that's good.
But that's my world, though. Your world is more of a calm world. No. My world is war.
No, I think the difference between those two worlds is an Armani suit.
You think?
Oh yeah.
I can go into a fight with an Armani suit. Who says I can't? I can get some Armani shorts.
Well, I can go into a deal with shorts on.
That's what I'm saying. So it's not. I don't think it's the suit. I think it's the mentality.
It's the same thing.
You think you go in, when you go into a deal, you go into a war mentality? You go in with war mentality?
Totally. When you start a company, you have to be a warrior. If not, you get killed. I think it's the same thing, actually.
Okay, so let me backtrack a little bit before we get into the business world, because that's what you do, right?
Right.
All right, so you're a businessman, you're an investor, you're a creator of business. What else?
I've done that. I've been in the media.
In the media? Wow. So you told me that you were an anchorman in New York.
I was a weekend anchorman. I was also a street reporter.
Wow.
Then I was managing director of the Wall Street Journal.
But managing director of the Wall Street Journal, that's pretty much the boss.
No, well, Wall Street Journal is owned by Dow Jones.
Okay. So it's
well, let me backtrack. When I was there, it was owned by Dow Jones, right?
Okay.
and which Dow Jones then owned the Wall Street Journal.
Got
Right?
it.
So within the structure of the Wall Street Journal, you have two areas. Content, that's run by the publisher, and then you have the business part, which is run by the managing director.
Gotcha.
Right? So that's kind of, now Dow Jones was bought up by News Corp.
Okay, so now they're owned by News Corp. Got it.
Which is
But you haven't worked there in
long time.
long time. And what are you doing now?
Right now, I'm trying to get my life together, get back into the barbarian mode.
Ah, so you fell asleep. You became a
More than
non-barbarian.
asleep. I went into coma for a while.
So, all right. So you were in New York in the 90s, right?
In the 90s,
In
yes.
the 90s up to what point?
Yeah, that's right. In the 90s until 90, full-time I was there until 99, 2000.
Okay.
And then now I go back and forth.
So you have offices here in New York. Okay. But I mean, Miami. Obviously, maybe people don't know where we're at, but in Miami. All right. Now, you're becoming a barbarian again. How did you figure that out? How did you figure out that you were asleep and that you needed to become a barbarian again, to become a monster in business?
Yeah, I looked at my life and I didn't like the way my life was going, and I felt disconnected from that energy that I had in the past. That was a hustling, was a go-getter, a survivalist. When I first got to New York, and I kind of lost that. And I think what happens is that you get out of your body and you go into your mind, and all you do is think and analyze, and you stop really doing things.
Yes.
You know? So the whole idea is to get back into the street and start doing stuff. And imagine a fighter that all he does is train. He goes to the gym.
That is what fighters are supposed to do.
Right. But you never fight. Imagine a fighter that trains and never fights.
There's some of those. Right. There's some of those guys.
No,
we have a name for those guys.
What is it called?
We call them postalitas. You know what a postalita is in Spanish, right?
No.
Like a trading card.
Oh, okay.
Like one of those sports cards or whatever. So you become that because you're acting the part so you can be a star, but you're not really doing the sport. So we call them una postalita.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I became a postalita for a while.
That's what you were. So you were acting the part.
I was acting the part.
And felt in comfort more than anything. Was it just, I've made it this far, I'm comfortable?
I made choices. I actually made choices in terms of focusing on family mostly.
Yes.
And I kind of abandoned that part of me, that barbarian part.
Okay.
Which, I think that I made a mistake doing that. Because I think within the context of the family, you have to be that too.
Yeah, you could, of course.
And I think if you're disconnected as a man, if you're disconnected from that, you're actually giving a bad example to your kids because it takes away your authenticity.
Well, if you think about it, you're that barbarian. You're being that for your kids. In reality, right. You're amassing, you're consuming, you're taking, you're doing all of that for your kids.
Right.
At the end of the day, so that's not neglecting them. I don't think. I mean, unless you're never there. That's a different story.
Also, I think as a man, if you neglect that part of you, you're kind of losing your authenticity.
Of course.
So you are a member of your family, totally inauthentic, even though it may look like you are.
You're not the alpha.
No, you're not anything.
No, you're not the alpha. That's the biggest,
right.
Because it could be seen the wrong way, but the man is the head of the family in that sense, right? And you have to do things as a man that nobody else is going to do.
Right.
And you got to take that choice
that
to do
role.
it. Yeah,
right.
You got to do it. And I think people have fallen away from that. Now it's just like,
Totally. I think men have totally lost that. I think society has pushed men in a way to take a role that's totally unnatural to men, and it kind of kills half of what you are.
100%.
Right?
100%.
So then you're walking around a boxer or a fighter with one hand tied behind your back.
Yeah.
That's manhood now. And
well, you can't be a man. Because if you're a man, you're a misogynist.
If
you are that manly man that we used to have before, That doesn't exist anymore. It hardly does. You don't see it, right? If you become that man, you're a bad guy, right?
And look culturally how we demonize anybody that takes that role in society. Because to build anything great, you have to be a barbarian.
100%.
Look at, for example, the robber barons, Rockefeller, J.P. Morgan, all those guys.
Yeah, but they're considered bad because they amass fortunes, right?
And they were barbarians. They did certain things.
In the business world.
And they did certain things that you need to do for us to have electricity.
100%.
For us to drive our cars.
Well, it's the necessary evil, right? You're going to have to do some things that are not, are not nice to get to your goal, right? But that goal is going to be better than what you did.
They created the infrastructure we live in right now, right? And now we're doing it the same thing with other people.
Well, they're doing it in a different way. Now we're going into the more electronic world, right?
The tech world. Now people like that immediately are demonized. Jeff Bezos is a bad guy for this. Even guys like John Malone, Rupert Murdoch. All those guys, the same thing.
Bill Gates, all those guys are going to be demonized. Even Elon Musk, who hasn't really done anything.
Right.
I mean, he's not done anything, but as a person, he hasn't really done much, like bad things. I think he's created work.
Right.
He's created a lot of business for a lot of people, a lot of high-paying jobs, and he gets criticized.
He's taken tremendous risks.
Yeah.
Right, with most people on the sidelines.
He's been very advanced compared to a lot of people. A lot of people are being very reserved and not going. For example, he was one of the first people to go with that electric car, right? Not a lot of people were willing to take that chance because nobody wants to go against the oil companies.
Right.
And he, what are you going to do? I have the money to do it. I'll do it. And it worked, right? He's going to space. He made Jeff Bezos want to go to space. Think about it. That we haven't been messing with space in a long time. And now we got ships going up to the sky.
And also, those guys risked their personal capital on this.
And their personal lives too, because I don't think they have the time to do a lot of the things that regular people get to do.
Right. That's actually a really good book, his biography.
Yeah.
I read it. It's a really good book.
Bezos.
No, Elon Musk.
Oh, Elon Musk. Yeah, no. I've seen a couple of interviews with him, but I haven't read his biography. Sure. And he started with PayPal. Yeah. And then from there, just invested in different companies. And
I'm not sure. I remember he started with PayPal. He sold PayPal. And I think then he partnered up with the guy that actually started Tesla.
Okay.
I don't know if it was called Tesla. And that partner is no longer part of Tesla. I don't know what his role is.
Yeah.
But then I think he bought what was that factory or whatever the Tesla car was being done at that time.
Okay.
So I think that thing started. And then I think he started the solar company with I think his cousin or first cousin and then he meshed them both together as Tesla went public.
Wow.
And he took the other one public too. Wow. Solar City, I think it's called.
Yeah. Right. Oh, and I mean, he has Neuralink. He has a whole bunch of different companies that he's still working on. I mean, that's pretty incredible, trying to connect technology to the mind, because that's what he's trying to do, right?
Right.
That's pretty crazy. So what are you doing right now? So I know what you're doing, obviously, but give me a breakdown of what you're doing right now. So you're trying to get your barbarian back on, right? So how do you get that on? How are you doing this?
In this sleeping process, I did several things. I did some investments in a venture capital fund called Kinina Ventures, right? Not necessarily my money, but I found these people, put people in there.
Can you explain what a venture capital is?
A venture capital fund is part of the category of private equity, but private equity has different stages, from buying mature companies, buying companies that have revenues and have profits already, all the way to an idea.
Okay.
So venture capitals have different categories too. Mm-hmm. They have a growth stage, but what people think of venture capital is you coming to a fund that has money and you just have an idea and you have maybe a management team.
Okay.
and a reputation. And then you go to these funds and you say, look, I want to do this, that. And they will, if they like the idea, they will do what's called a seed round, which is very early stage, an idea with a business plan, and they'll say, look, here is so money, so you can go out and do that idea.
Gotcha.
And then, obviously, you're going to start the idea, and then you're going to run out of money, most likely. So then you go to what's called a Series A, which is another round of funding. And then you have a Series B, C, D, and
so you go all down.
Right.
So is that kind of like what the Shark Tank show does? Where guys go to, a bunch of guys with money and present their ideas, and then those guys invest on them?
I think it's different in a way,
Obviously,
because these are individuals.
Well, this is a TV show, obviously, so they make it more, they sit this 4 millionaires there, and they, they're, okay, show me your idea, and then they're like, okay, I'll invest so much, and
I don't know how Shark Tank works, but VC works is part of the other than giving you money, most of these funds have expertise to help you in your process, and also connect you with people.
Okay.
If you need a CEO, if you need somebody to help you, they'll find it for you. So it's just not money. And that world has become so competitive that money is a commodity. All those secondary services is what really people are looking for. How can how can they connect you to another round of money? How can they connect you to the technology that you need or the expertise that you need?
Yeah.
So that's what kind of a venture capital fund does.
Okay, so now that we understand that, now tell me exactly how we're going to get back to the barbarian that we know as Radames Soto.
Well, the next stage right now is I'm focusing on two areas. I'm putting together a company to buy companies, not venture capital, at a later stage in the media, entertainment, information, and communication sector.
Okay.
Right?
So you're going to be attacking the entertainment or communication and
right, that
media.
whole area, which is kind of where I came from.
Okay.
Right?
Why do you feel like you need to go in there?
Because
in that business, do you think it's flawed right now?
Two things. For me, it's the business that I've been in.
Okay.
For most of my life.
Got it.
So I know it, even though it's evolved quite a bit. I have to really come up to date in terms of my relationships, my network. But at one point, I really knew it.
Got it.
I knew the players, I knew the technologies, I know the business, right? So it's not going to be that difficult for me to re-engage.
Back in there.
One thing. And yes, I think this business is going to be totally changed. It has totally changed.
Well, it has to change.
And it has changed in, from, look at, for example, broadcast, radio, how that's changed, and how that's kind of going to eventually not become irrelevant, but it's losing.
It's kind of disappearing,
audiences.
though. It's not really as solid as it was before.
Right. So so you have that. Entertainment is going streaming. The movie business, for example, controlled by the studios. That's not the case. Now it's controlled by Amazon and Netflix.
Okay.
Right. And the gaming area, which is an area that I know less about, which I need to become familiar with.
Yeah.
That's a huge area now.
It's a multi-billion-dollar business.
It's bigger than the film industry, actually.
Yes.
Yeah?
Well,
so,
think about it. Now, when the pandemic hit, all the kids were home playing.
Right.
Think about it. That's all they did, and not just the kids, because that's the thing. People assume that it's just the kids, but all the adults were playing also. Yeah, I started playing.
And I think gaming is going to become more and more part of our lives. Not the gaming that
the gaming that we have now. You think a more virtual, more interactive?
I think we're going to start playing games that are not necessarily shoot-up games, but games that are going to spill into our everyday life. I mean, in other words, a game that you won't stop playing after you get off the console.
Yeah.
I think we're going to do more and more of that. And that combined with data, role playing, I think we're going to go into that more. Also, if you bring into virtual reality into the game and augmented reality, that's going to. I think, to me, virtual reality is going to change the game totally.
You think so?
Totally.
How far away from going into a virtual reality game and being in a regular room? How far are we from reality? Like making the virtual reality, going in there, and that becoming sort of a reality. How far are we from that?
Well, what I've seen, I think what's missing is the business model. How do you make money with it? But I think you look at the technology, what I have seen, the Oculus and all that, and it's pretty much there in a way.
It's almost there, yeah. I put some on, and it's not as realistic as you would want it to be, but imagine when it's so real that you can't tell the difference between reality and that.
Well, then the world is over at that time. Because
think so?
Yeah, because I think...
What if we're there already?
What's that?
What if we're there already?
That could be too.
We talk about this all the time. I personally think we're in a simulation, but I'm going to leave that for later because we got to keep talking about business.
Right. So I think that's what's missing, but I think that's going to change the game.
Okay.
It's like what I say. If you are a kid that lives in terrible conditions in a third world country, your mom is never there, your dad, whatever, you live in a shack, and then I give you an Oculus, and you can become an investment banker in New York. Why would you come back to your own reality?
True, but then, what is that going to do to the world? Then we're going to become slaves to that? Who cares, huh?
We're already slaves.
We are. What are we slaves to, though? Do you know?
We're slaves to the system. We're slaves to cultural pressure.
To the broken system.
Yeah. Whatever it is. Yeah, so we're already that, in a way.
Yeah, okay.
We're slaves to social media.
We are.
Right?
Not everybody is, though.
Not everybody, but it's becoming more and more to the point that even in business you can't function without it.
Yeah. Well, me as a personal trainer, I need to have a page so I can advertise. So if I don't have it, how do people find me? Not that I do much advertising anyways, but think about it. If I didn't have a page, how will people find me, right? Nowadays, you need that. You need social media in a way.
Totally.
But then, you see those guys that don't have it at all, and they're perfectly fine.
But I think that's going to be more and more of an exception. If you have a company, I think, if for some reason you're a lucky guy that you can, that'd be great if you can do that.
Yeah.
That would be maybe that becomes an ideal later on.
Weren't we working on a plan on how to detox from social media? What happened to my plan?
I'm trying that.
You're trying to detox?
Yeah. I'm not really. I don't consume.
Okay.
Social media that much. Instagram a little bit. One of the things I changed is change my search away from Google into DuckDuckGo
yes,
Quantum.
I did that as well.
I'm doing that. I don't like the way the social media companies behave lately
during the
censorship, all that. So Twitter, I have an account, but I don't use it. Same thing with Facebook. I don't like the way Apple behaved with this whole parlay thing.
Gotcha.
So I'm not consuming much Apple.
So you don't agree with the censorship?
Not at all.
With the censorship part of it, right?
Yeah, I don't.
They were censoring people. That's what they were doing.
No, I don't agree with that at all.
Okay. Well, I disagree with them too. I'm still on Facebook. I'm still on. I don't even know if I have a Twitter, to tell you the truth. I know I did one a long time ago, but I never get in it. Right. And I've never used it because it's never been my choice. I really don't care about words. So people write stuff, and you get your feelings hurt because somebody wrote something. Yeah. So I really never got into that. I'm more into the Instagram and Facebook. I really do like Facebook because I do keep in touch with a lot of people through there. Right. But then, I'm supporting it at the same time.
Well, right? it's a value. It's a problem because you're. I see it with Instagram. I use Instagram, and you are supporting, in a way, censorship.
Yeah. That's what we're doing.
And look what's happening. What's up now? With what's up now?
The WhatsApp.
WhatsApp. Yeah.
Well, I had it, but I never used it.
I use it a lot, and it's like now I think I'm not 100% sure, but now they're saying that Facebook will be able to take that data. Now I think they just came up with an update.
They're owned by Facebook, so
exactly. Yeah. So they're going to be able to take that data. So if you're in WhatsApp, you're actually giving data to Facebook.
Yeah.
Right? And I think that's a model that through blockchain and all that will start to break up, which is...
Well, do you think that the politics are going to be able to do something about them doing that, or because they're private companies, they're allowed to do that? I know they're protected by the 230 thing by the government, but
right. Will they be able to do that? Break them up, or?
I mean, isn't that what they're trying to do? Some political.
I think what's going to break that up is blockchain. I think the
So you believe more in the blockchain system that's coming? So that what would the blockchain do? Because you tell me about the blockchain, but like, what is it that the blockchain is going to do to kind of like get rid of all that censorship in a way? Because
well, I think, I don't know if it's going to I think it will get away from the censorship. I think blockchain, what will do is will break up the current model of centralized data and centralized servers.
Meaning no more physical servers.
Yes, and the whole thing of these companies accumulating all the data, all the information, and put it on their own servers.
Gotcha.
And then they own that,
yeah.
Which is really mine and yours, our data, right?
So if I have a website and I have it in Amazon server, they own my data.
They do.
Wow. Well, that is what happened to Parler, right? That they kept everything and they weren't giving them anything back.
I don't know what happened there, but for example, Amazon took them off Amazon web servers.
Yeah.
So they couldn't
get into their files to get their how they organized the site and everything like that.
I don't know the details of what happened, but they cut them off
completely.
So and on top of that, all the other cloud servers got together and they said, no, we're not taking you either.
Wow.
So
the goal is to take away those cloud services and those big servers that they have and make
also
them obsolete.
And also, part of that model probably will be with the blocks of the blockchain, in which it will be very harder to steal your data, because in a way, these companies, their business model is based on using and selling your personal data.
Yeah. Right? Well, that's how they make most of their money.
Right. So imagine a world in which you can sell your own data.
That'd be great.
Right. So in other words, if it's like these companies that call you at home, and ask you for some research, and what I do is say, are you going to pay me for my information? And it's a short circuit, because they make money off of what I'm going to tell them, but they're using me as a way to make money, but they're not giving me anything in return.
So they take out your information and sell your information.
And sell my information and use it for the research, and then I don't get anything. That's exactly the same model that's happening.
Yeah.
Like, for example, I went the other day to an electronics store, and I get to the cashier, and the cashier starts asking me for my zip code, and I said, no, I'm not giving you that. Why? And she went into shock. I mean, of course, it's not her fault, but it's the same thing. You know, why am I going to give you? I said to her, well, if I give you this, can you give me a discount? She said, well, that's what people ought to start doing, because every time they ask you for your address, for your zip code, for all that, that's information that they're putting into their databases and they're going to use to market and sell you stuff.
And to make money.
So, right. Yeah. And so I think that the blockchain, in a way, is going to bring a decentralized system in which it takes away and breaks up the model of the Googles of the world, of the, Facebook and all that. Well, I think it's a very exciting world that we're going to.
Yeah, it's a different world. I mean, can you explain blockchain a little bit? So it's a server without a server? Is that what it is?
Blockchain is a ledger.
It's just the actual, like, let's say, like the receipt of the transaction. That's all it is.
It's like a database, but it's a ledger, like an accounting ledger, but it's positioned all over the world in many computers, and it has kind of a code, and that's the only way for you to know that transaction happened.
But that doesn't store in just one computer. Like it stores in all computers.
Millions of computers. That's why if I do a transaction with you,
it's the connection between all the computers, and they're using that connection to store information in that.
Right. If I said, if we do a transaction, and I give you $20, right, and we log that transaction on the blockchain, and it has a number, hash, right? So what happens? That transaction is recorded in all these computers all over the world. And then you come back to me and you say, you never gave me $20.
Yeah. So you go and check the ledger.
You go and check it. It's there, right? And it's almost impossible to hack.
But that would be you and the person that did the transaction that can actually check that. Can everybody else check that?
No. It's
right?
because you have a code, yeah.
So that would be only between the two people that did the transaction. Right. So that's why it's so good, and that's why it
trust.
Worries.
It's trust.
That's why it worries so many people. Right?
Well, think about the banking business. Any business that's based on trust or being in the middle of a transaction, you're not going to need that anymore.
Well, think about it. You don't need the banks anymore. Why would you need the bank if you're doing transaction directly to another person through the blockchain? You're not going to need the bank. Why would I need the bank?
Well, the bank, the only reason, why do you need the bank? To put money and allegedly it's safe.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like, why would I need it? Now I'm doing my transaction directly with the blockchain. I'm not having to use the bank, right? So that will make the banks obsolete, right?
I think the banks are very fearful.
So is that what the fear is? That's why they're trying to get the government to jump on it and cancel it out?
Imagine, a lot of, rock bands and content are putting their content on the blockchain. So it becomes a peer-to-peer. You don't need a Netflix. So you don't need, you're going to put that, and I'm going to buy your content directly.
Wow. So you're making it where it's a direct transaction with everything that you do. So if I'm going to sell something, I'm doing the direct transaction, so I'm cutting middleman out.
Right.
Wow, that's pretty. See, now that you explain it that way, I kind of understand it, because we talked about this before, and it didn't make a lot of sense. But
I think it's the most dangerous thing that's happening.
So is that why China banned it?
Oh, that's
because they wouldn't have control of the transactions.
I think that right now what we're seeing politically and economically is a fight between these two worlds: centralized power, centralized money, centralized content, centralized everything, versus this new world that's decentralized. And if you're China, what is it? You're a dictatorship, an authoritarian. What is that? Totally centralize everything. Yeah. You can't. They go after entrepreneurs. Control. You can't have free information. You can't do. It's control, total control. So anything that presents a threat to that control, like free press, you got to get rid of it.
That's kind of scary.
It's going to be a big clash. There's a great book called The End of Power. And
who wrote that book? End of Power by?
It's Moises Naim. That's a guy's name.
Yes, I think you have to.
Okay.
Book, yes.
And what he talks about that's already happening in terms of political power. That in the past you had, United States and Russia were the superpowers battling, and in a way they controlled the world because they had so much power, right? They controlled who had nuclear weapons, who did, right? And his model is saying that the United States has less and less power. All these countries, Russia has less and less power. Now China came into the fold. So you have a fractionalized political power that's not only being divided among countries, it's divided among corporations, it's divided among technology companies, it's divided among networks, Al-Qaeda, network, it's divided among tribes, warlords, drug cartels. So what he says is that power is now becoming easier to obtain, easier to grab and have it, but harder to maintain it.
Gotcha.
So in other words, we're going to, it kind of plays into the same idea of the centralized model, but from a political point of view.
Well, they want to centralize it for their...
And actually, Mark Zuckerberg came out saying this was one of his favorite books.
I don't really know what to think about Zuckerberg. He's a strange guy.
I know nothing about him.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, from what I've seen from him, he's a strange guy. Let's go back to how did you decide to become such a barbarian now? Let's go back a little bit. So you saw that your life was, kind of stagnant, right? And then you realized it. But how did you realize it? Like, what was it that oh, wow. Was it one day that you said, like, why is my life like this? What the hell did I do wrong?
Yeah, I think I realized I gave up my power. The things that I wanted to do were not happening. I realized I was doing, if you looked at my life from the outside, it was posing. It looked great. I mean, the whole thing and, but in reality, I wasn't really taking the risks of doing the things that I wanted to do.
Okay.
I was pretending more than actually doing. I was overthinking. I was analysis paralysis. And I realized now it's time for me to get in the game. And also, you lose not only your power, but I think you start becoming you become weaker and more dependent.
Yeah.
Right? So I realized that's what I was doing. And also I realized that, for my daughters, a weak man that's not being authentic and doing what he wants to do is a terrible example. Even if you're a great father.
Yeah.
But that persona that you're bringing home, they can smell it. It's like a dog that smells fear.
Yeah.
They can smell the authenticity, the weakness, and right. So to move into grab back that power again, and go out there and bang it with the world and get in the marketplace and do the things that you want to do and risk and fail and win and all that. I was kind of, and also when you lose that barbarian, life becomes really boring.
Do you think you were just playing it safe, like just to keep what you had and not, it's good enough. It's not what I want, but it's good enough. Do you think you're just playing it safe?
I don't know if there was a relationship between safe and comfortable. I would say it was more comfort and maybe avoiding uncertainty.
And what changed though? What?
I don't know. I think I think that when you lose your power and you start living something that you don't want to do, it's very painful. And I think you get to a threshold of pain that you say, I can't deal with this anymore. So you have to do something. So I think pain takes you there, in which you can no longer live that way.
Yeah. No, I agree. So what method did you use to bring out that barbarian?
Well, I think I started to read a lot about it.
Well, I'm going to interrupt because there's different. I keep reading of different ways to do that, right? You hear people, believe and you can achieve, just wish for it. You got a bunch of different ways that people, The Secret. This guy says this guy. Okay, so how did you do it?
Well, I started going back into my life, into examples and places where my life worked, where that was coming out.
Okay.
So I started saying, well, there is examples in my life where this has happened already, right? It wasn't like a new experience. I went back to the times I had all the odds stacked against me. And how did I get out of there? How did I come through that? In certain sports, how did I win? What was my mindset of winning?
Yeah.
Right? How did I survive economically in certain situations? Right? So I kind of started to look at that, and I realized that I wasn't the same person. I mean, this person now wasn't doing anything like that. Right?
Yeah.
And I was really, the dormant non-barbarian, if you want to call it, was really concerned about what other people thought. And when I go back to those things in it, I was not concerned. Because what? I was so focused on surviving and making it happen that I really did not care. I mean, my need to win and my need to survive and my need was so strong that I did not have time to worry about what the neighbor was thinking. And I think when you go in a zone of comfort, a lot of the things you lose, like the north,
yeah. And
then you start getting tangled down on all these insignificant matters that take up your life. Like what does this person think? What do your kids think of you? What happens if I fail? What are they going to think? And what happens if I win? Are they going to feel uncomfortable that was one thing that I realized, that my ultimate goal, like for example, when I got to New York with no money, my goal was to make it through the week. How am I going to pay the rent? How am I going to eat? You become almost like an animal.
Yeah.
You have to figure it out.
Survive,
and you got to do whatever it takes.
Yeah.
And so I did jobs that, to tell the truth, I would be embarrassed to do right now. But they did. They got me to
They served the purpose, yeah. And you did them because you had to do them.
And I did jobs. I lived in the most incredible dumps you can imagine. And it didn't matter because I had a very clear objective. And I think in this period that I went dormant, I lost my objective. And part of coming back is to be honest with yourself of what is it that you really want. So it becomes that necessity, that drive that is so powerful that nothing matters other than that. So I think you start connecting, in my case, with that I was totally disconnected. What I wanted was to please everybody, to look good, to create an image, do that. And I sat one time in a meeting, and one guy referred to another guy. The other guy wasn't there. He said, so-and-so, he's like a man without a country. That's exactly what I was.
Wow.
That's
how you felt.
That's how I felt. I said, whoa, that's exactly how I feel. Wow. It's like I was like all over the place. And you would invite me to do something, and I would do it. Another guy, let's do this business, and I would do it. I was like kind of all over the place, pleasing people instead of saying, no. So that's one thing. And then we go to what you and me had talked about, is the exploring of our, to do this, I think a goal so strong creates a different identity.
Yeah.
Right? Because the person that's dormant is not the killer guy that's going to go out. That's a different person. And it's not that it's a different caricature of yourself. It's a different part of yourself.
Yes.
That it's a different identity within yourself. The guy that was in New York, is not the same guy that was comfortable at another corporation.
Yeah.
Just trying to survive within the corporation.
Just making it.
Right? It's a different person. When I played golf, that was a whole different person.
You played golf in your youth, in your college years?
Before my college years and in college.
And you were a high-level player?
Yeah, I played a lot. I played the South American tournaments. I played in college. I was a pretty good golfer. And it was interesting.
Wait. You were a pretty good golfer naturally, or you were a really hard worker?
No, I was a grinder.
Okay, because there's a difference. Because I tell the guys in the gym, you can be a hard worker, you can make it, but you can be the most talented person in the world, and if you don't work hard, you're not gonna get anywhere. The grinder. When I started playing golf, I looked at my peer group, and I realized I was probably the less talented of all of them. Okay. I remember I had a friend that I envied this guy's swing. Wow. I was going, wow, it was this guy. But he didn't have the need that I had, at least in this area. Yeah.
I had to prove myself not only as a golfer, but as many other things, in terms of my families and So I became a major grinder. I mean, I would hitchhike after school to the club where I played, which was far away, and then it would get dark at night. I remember I'd go, how am I going to get home? Remember, I was like 15, 14. Yeah. So people would drop me off in the middle of the city, and I would have to somehow make it home. And I would do that every day.
Wow. And this was back in Venezuela?
Yeah, to play golf, and to hit. And on the weekends, I would try to get early and not play just 18 holes, try to play 36.
Wow.
And that creates a mindset that when you're in a tournament or something, it creates a momentum that people feel it. And there's nothing more, there's nothing that destroys a competitor to see a grinder that is not talented beating
them. Yeah.
and just
100%.
playing and not. I remember one time that
I thought that you got beat by somebody that's not as good as you.
Right.
That's what it is. Because that happens all the time in MMA.
Right.
So that guy's not as good as me, but he beat me. Like he's has a lot more
I
heart.
remember I was playing a junior national tournament. And the tournament started in the first day. So we came into the last day, and this guy was, and I knew him very well, this guy was beating me by 6 or 7 points, right? He was a longer hitter than me, all that, right? And I remember on the 14th hole, this guy started crying because he felt, I was like a train. This guy knew that he was gone, even though at that point we were tied.
Okay.
Anybody could have won, but I had already won.
You broke him
because of my mindset. It was like bam. It was like unbearable.
How do you lose that drive? How do you? What kills that drive? What can kill that drive? Because you tell me from your youth you were very determined. You wanted to get yours. You always were gonna get yours. And then there's a point where it's just, and I get it. The family comes around, things change, right? But how do you let that go? How do you?
I think the greatest.
You think
killer,
it was like a slow process, and little by little you lost your instinct because you were comfortable?
It was slow, but I think comfort is the greatest killer. You have to figure a way to keep that thing within comfort.
So you think you should live out of your comfort zone
all the time? I see guys, for example, that are very successful, but they continue to keep that conversation that they're an outsider. Everybody's out to get them, this, and they got to prove to this guy. And you go, well, what do you have to prove? You have it all. Mm-hmm. And these guys, no. Because it's a way of keeping yourself on the edge.
Yeah. Because
if not, you grab the control and you fall asleep. And well, look at, for example, that whole study that I think. Private banking does and about inheritance, that there's always one guy that makes all the money,
and then the next
and then the second, but by the third generation they lose it.
Yeah,
and it's all comfort
because they never earned it.
Yeah, and they live in comfort, right? So I think comfort is the number one
killer of drive.
Yeah, because it reduces your comfort. Your comfort zone becomes smaller and smaller. So your options, what is it? I don't know who said it, Maya Angelou or the poet, or I'm not sure if him, or there's a Buddhist. I don't know where this comes from. That whole saying that life contracts or expands according to your courage. That's a description of comfort zone.
Yeah.
If you don't have any courage, your comfort zone starts to contract, and pretty soon you're surrounded and you don't do anything because you're afraid of everything. And if you start doing acts of courage, your life starts to expand.
So, I mean, what do you suggest then? Like, just think of something and do it? Like, if you have a goal, just do it. Just go for it. Doesn't matter.
I've been reading about this whole identity concept. And to me, that's probably going to be the future of psychology, right? Because what is traditional psychology or therapy?
Going back and fixing your past.
And talking about what your mother told you when you were 5 years old, and going back, and you spend years and years, and most people don't get much results from it, because I've done it. I have friends that done it. Even Woody Allen makes friend of it. He's been in therapy for gazillions of years. I think this whole concept of changing your identity
don't go too far back as
is a quantum leap.
Okay.
Into automatically becoming that person that does that what you want to do. And it's interesting. When I was in college, as a sidetrack, I did a lot of theater, right? Mm-hmm. And I did some theater in New York as well. I mean, off Broadway, as a side, as a hobby. Okay. And when you build a character, in a way, here you're building. What I'm talking about identity is not building a character that's not you.
Yeah,
it's tapping into a part of you. But when you do a character, you see how you become a totally different person, and our ability to become that person that has a different super objective in life than you do, and how you create a whole life to fit for that. Because in reality, if you're a guy that wants to make $50,000 a year,
Yeah.
that you that wants to make $1 billion are not the same one. And plus,
definitely not.
the $50,000 one cannot do the other thing.
It's going to be a different mentality. It's a different person.
It's like the whole thing they talk about, that book about the lotteries.
Most people that earn that
Right,
earn
because
it,
it's
end
not
up
because of
losing
the money, it's because of our identity.
mentality.
If you think of yourself as a guy that makes $60,000 a year, and then all of a sudden you win $300 million, you will figure out a way to get
go
back to 60,000. And that's what that book's about.
That
They
is
throw the
very
money
scary.
away, they give it to them, they fight with the whole family, they do all this, and then they end up in the same job they had, or something similar to what they had before they won the lottery,
Yeah, that's so scary.
right? And that's your identity, that's what you believe in. That's the kind of person you are.
So you gotta switch your personality to become somebody that's wealthy, that's successful,
That is a guy that does that.
So, and that's where the part of falling into the character, like acting out the character, becoming the character, right?
And becoming that part of yourself
now you're that person.
I think we're like a piano.
I'm a fine-tuned piano.
I imagine. So a piano is like, you have different notes.
Yes.
It's still part of the piano. But what we do is we play one note all our lives. Dun, 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 dun. So imagine going to
Or
Carnegie
you
Hall.
only know one song.
Right.
You have a great piano, but you only know one song. And you
Right.
keep playing that one song when you have
I don't
the
think
chance.
we even know a song. I think we just hit
Just
one note. One note.
That's pretty low.
Right. So imagine you go to Carnegie Hall and you put your tuxedo on, you're going to give a concert, and you just hit one note.
Yeah.
That's how we're living.
Wow.
When you have all these other notes that you can play, compose a song or any songs you want, but we keep doing the one note.
Yeah.
Because that's what we know. We build our identity based on when you were 11 years old, 10 years old, based on surviving in your home, making your dad laugh because that was a way to get love. Make sure you got food, and then you think like your parents because you have to survive under this.
Yeah, we get programmed.
Exactly.
We get programmed from youth. I read the other day that from when you're born to 7, that's your programming years. That you're gonna do the rest of your life what you learn between those 7 years, right? And it's scary. My daughter's 5. Am I doing the right job? It's scary.
Well, but if you know this, you could do the right job.
But I'm trying. That's the goal. We talk about this all the time.
But most people don't know this.
Obviously, because that's why we have so many problem people, right? We program those people to be failures at the end of the day because they're not going to succeed. If the way that in school, for example, you're told not everybody, for the most part, you're told you're a failure the whole time. You did this wrong, you got to learn this, you're doing that wrong, right? So what do you come out very negative out of school. You might learn some stuff, but does it really prepare you for the world?
No. We'll think about it. Most of us are acting around in the world, thinking and operating with the same decisions that we made when we were 10, 9 years old.
Yeah.
Now we're 40-something or whatever,
still thinking the
and
same
that's how
way.
you operate. Making people laugh, doing the same things, but in the environment you're in. So it's impossible it's going to work. So I think, you have to change that.
Yeah.
And that's, I think we talked the other day, that's a scary thing to do.
It is because
we're so
to
used
think that you're going to become a different persona, you're going to think you're losing you.
Well, then we go back
and
to
I think we value our failures, ourselves as failures. We value ourselves too much as failures. Right? Because why are we so scared to lose that? I'm a failure, right? So why would I be scared to lose that? I don't want to change the person that I am, but I'm not successful. So why not? Why not become something successful? Why not become something better? Why not act it out?
I think we go back to comfort again. You lose, you get out of the
what's
familiar.
the comfort in not advancing?
I think we're wired to look for certainty. Even though we know that certainty is an illusion.
It is. Because my everyday life, there's no certainty in my everyday life.
There's nothing.
You don't know. You can, anything can happen.
Exactly. But we operate with the illusion that, no, we're settled, everything is going to be the same.
This is safe. I'm going to do this.
And that's how we do. I do this business and it's going to be fine. And then you go bankrupt and you go, what happened?
Yeah.
Because the fact that you thought it was going to be fine, you didn't innovate, you didn't do certain things you had to do, and the market went right by you. And I think that's the number one thing. And also, part of that, keeping that paradigm of what's familiar also has to do with your family members. Because the minute you change, you distort their safety.
Their safety, yeah.
Because they also think, okay, I'm with him because he's a certain way.
Yeah.
The minute you change, it's like I say, if I would show up in my house dressed as Ronald McDonald, everybody would go berserk.
Yeah.
Because they're used to me coming with a blue blazer and a certain shoes and a brown bag, right? Now I show up at Ronald McDonald's and they go, what happened? It's not that they feel bad for me; they feel bad for themselves.
Yeah. I don't want to be seen with him.
Well, yeah, it creates. It's like those.
It's a distortion. Yeah.
You distort the agreements that we have as members.
Well, but that happens in all homes. You know, I mean, whoever, it could be the wife or the husband trying to advance, and then the husband has a problem, the wife has a problem. You know, let the person advance, let them move forward, let them.
You have to have a very advanced person as your family member to understand that, and not only understand that, encourage that.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, behind every man, there's what?
A great woman, and vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so I think that's why this whole shifted identity, which I think is kind of the solution, is hard to do because you have a lot of, call it agreements, a lot of things that are against you to become. So you have to have a lot of courage, basically, to say, look, I'm not being the person today that's going to achieve what I want to do or give me the life that I want. So I have to stop being the person that I am now to become that person. And you're probably going to have to eliminate a lot of things in your life that are and part of the other person.
Yeah.
Because remember that if you see that whole thing that they say, and I saw kind of the study where it comes from, the whole thing that you are the average of the 5 people you hang out with. That comes from a statistical model that's bigger than that how we become part of the masses, part of the group, and you start changing just to fit in, right? So the problem is if you're surrounded with people that are encouraging your old identity, it's very
you're always going to stay there.
It's very difficult to get out. So in a way, you have to. That's why drug addiction programs, the first thing they do is they take you out of your environment.
Out of your environment to take away from your friends, so you're not around.
Because your identity is a drug addict.
So when you do the reset, I mean, it is a full reset.
It is a full reset.
So you got to leave pretty much almost everything of your old self behind.
You have to.
In a way. Your persona is always going to be your persona. That doesn't change that much. You know, your character and certain things are not going to change, but I want to say your willingness to follow the instinct. Is that what it is? Like you have to be willing to listen to your animal instinct sometimes. Like, you know what, you're going to be able to get that, go get it.
Right.
You know?
I think that it has to do with that, and I think it's almost methodical. What does a person that does achieve certain things do?
Work hard.
Right. For example, I remember this guy, Wayne Dyer.
Okay.
You know, he was a motivational guy. And I remember him saying that he was out of shape. How do I get into shape? He could never do it. And what he decided was to really just mimic a friend of his that was in great shape. What does this guy do? And that's how he got into shape.
So we copy successful people.
Yeah, he kind of saw what this guy did and then incorporated into who he was, and that's how he became in shape. Otherwise, it wasn't working. So he kind of took on an identity that wasn't him because his other current identity would not let him get into shape because of beliefs or whatever. You know, and then that's how he got into shape. Anthony Robbins talks about that in NLP. They do that, you know. And so, but I think the next stage to me is the whole thing of you creating from scratch that identity that's already within you, because you're not going to create an identity it's not you.
Of course.
I can't become like a Russian
I'm going to be KGB a Russian spy.
Guy.
Yeah.
It's like, you know,
of course.
You're going to become part of something that's already in you, but you're going to tap at that, create a different identity.
So you figure out how we talk, your alter ego, your
right. Who is that part of it?
Your perfect version of you.
Exactly. And that version of you that's going to obtain what you want. Because I think it comes down to what are the results. I think you start from that is like, you don't create an identity and then with that identity find what you want to do.
Yes.
I think you first say, okay, I want to do this. I want to be an MMA fighter. And then you build an identity of a person that's going to achieve that. And within the MMA fighting world, what is it that you want, right? And then you build a life, an identity, a network of friends, support systems that are going to take you there.
And would you copy other successful MMA fighters
to take pieces here and there, of course,
to create your
because it's most of these people. It's like if you want to become a billionaire,
watch billionaires.
Not only that, just grab the list of the Bloomberg Index and just see what they're doing. I mean, there is certain industries you are not going to become a billionaire buying bodegas. You're going to have a comfortable life, but that's not what it is. So you've got to see what kind of business can scale for you to get what you want. So that's a crazy example, but it's already there. You've got to
not to say that in that list there's going to be a couple that are not really supposed to be there, though, right? Like there's businesses that make it to billionaires that are not supposed to be there, or
if you look at the categories, they're very predictable.
It's pretty much who's going to be what business is going to get you to become a billionaire.
There's certain businesses that they're going to scale.
Yeah.
Right. And
some cap to a certain point.
And you look what are the new trends. So anything in the digital world, the valuations are huge. That could take you there.
Yeah.
Right. But there are certain businesses that are not going to take you there. You're not going to create a restaurant and get there. Right. So I think the same thing. You can read about people that are doing certain things.
Yeah.
A great book is Think and Grow Rich of Napoleon Hill. Because that's what he did in a way. He went and studied and had access to the robber barons, a lot of them.
Yep.
So he saw how these guys thought, and they thought totally different than regular people thought. Because if you read that book, it's almost has a lot of spirituality, has a lot of mind.
Yeah.
Auto suggestion.
The wish, you think about it so much that it'll come to you type thing. And where's the action part of it though?
Oh no, I think it's more action. It's creating a different persona that can achieve what you want to achieve, and that takes how many hours do these people work?
Insane amount of hours, I'm pretty sure.
What do you have to learn? What do you need to master? And then what are your talents that you can turn those talents into this? What is it that I have that I can really master it to a level that will take me there? So it's actually it's a very exciting thing to do, and it's a very scary thing to do because you have to give up a lot of stuff.
Yeah, it's like becoming a different person. It feels like becoming a different person. Well, we've been talking about this for a while, right. So it does become.
But in a way, we already do it because you're probably a different person at home. You're a different person with your parents than they are with your wife. We create characters according to the situation and in a mini way.
Yeah.
In my office, I'm a different person than with my daughters.
Of course.
Or my friends or whatever. So I think we already do that, but we don't know we're doing it.
When we're doing it consciously, we think about it as, oh, why am I acting this way? Exactly. As opposed to when you just do it, you're just being you.
It's like living a life just bouncing around, which is the life of a victim, which is you're just going, oh, I hope this happens, but I don't know how it's going to know. This is you're setting how your life is going to be. You're taking control. This is the kind of person that is going to achieve that. This is what I have to do to achieve that. This is how I have to become to achieve that, right? And so that's what I'm doing.
That's what you're doing, becoming you.
Also, physically, what do you look like?
That's another thing. How long are you going to last in this world if you don't take care of yourself?
Exactly.
Right? We're
and also,
machines.
not only that, you talk about, or I think about Claudia, about eating for energy.
Yeah.
That applies to this world.
100%.
If you're going to achieve big things, you got to have a lot of energy.
Well, that's why it's so impressive that the way that she does it, because she only thinks of what's going to be good for her for fighting.
Right.
Right? She has no other goals. No other goals. Her goal is to become, get to the UFC and be successful at fighting.
Focus.
That's it. Right? So what do I eat? I eat food that's going to help me for fighting. What are you doing? I'm training to become successful at fighting. Right? You want to go out? No. What do you want to watch? Fights. Right? So everything has to do with fighting. And I do admire that. It's a little, it's a little hard for me because I've been doing it for a long time, but at the end of the day, that is what I do. Because I train people every day. So, it doesn't hurt me to keep up with that, but to see that determination and how she, like you said, like how she eats for fuel, I don't do that. Right. I wouldn't be, I don't know. It's hard. It's eating green.
Well, I think you can,
tried it.
I think you can almost, that's interesting what you said, because you almost you can make a comparison between lifestyle and commitment to your goal.
Yeah.
Right?
If she's committed to her goal, there's no lifestyle there. That it becomes a lifestyle, right? It for her has become a lifestyle, but it's all for that goal. There's no other, deviation there. Like, I'm not gonna go here. No, I want UFC. I want to fight in the UFC. I'm gonna make it to the UFC, right? So everything she does is for that. You get it? So there's not gonna be any deviation for her. I mean, she's very on that line. It's just.
I think for me, part of this process was to become clean. What you really want.
To become clear what you really want, like
clean.
You come clean to you. You to accept really what you really want.
Because I think we that's a starting point.
Well, we talked about it when we first talked. I think one of the first conversations we had was write down the goals.
Right.
I think that was one of the first conversations we had. Write 10 goals down of things that you would like to achieve in your life in order from more important to least important.
I would take the word achieve out and say what you want. I think
what you want
is more animal. I think it's more
what you're gonna get.
It's more connected with yourself.
100%.
Because I think we also have, since we're living most of us a semi-authentic life, so these wants become an authentic too. Because a lot of those wants is to fit in.
When you want something, you go get it. Right, so like you're saying, like things have to be you have to want it, not want. I'm sorry, you have to.
I think you have to be really honest. You have to be very crude and ruthless with yourself.
So more of what we talk about, animal instinct.
You have to be, because I think our desires are so contaminated with what you're supposed to be. You're supposed to look like, what looks good, what the other guy does that works, and it's all this stuff that
doesn't matter.
Yeah, and it's, I think you have to get rid of that, and that's a painful process, because you look at your life and you say, wow, look at all this stuff I've been doing that doesn't really matter to me.
You're a believer in take care of yourself, and you're going to be a better member of society.
Totally.
Right?
Totally.
You do for you, and you take care of yourself, then you're not going to be a burden for anybody.
No, and also I think that the people that really matter in your life, you will become a good role model, and they will respect you.
Yes.
Rather than, I had this guy talk to me the other day, a friend of mine, and he was saying, you know what? I'm a great father, but I'm not living up to who I'm supposed to be. I think my daughters know that. I think they would respect me more if I wasn't such a great father, but I was more authentic with myself. Because indirectly, that's being a better father.
100%.
Right? But we mostly do the other way around.
100%, yeah. I agree.
I
agree.
And that's the way it works in life.
I think that the real you is more impressive than that person that you're constantly acting as.
Or it's not even acting.
It's genuine.
It's a big compromise.
Well, I think it is acting. I think it is. I think we act for a lot of people. I think we act for a lot of the, we get home, how's your day? Oh, it was great. Right. That's all acting. Do you really say what you want to say when you get home?
forget about what you say. Who are you being? What are you?
But that's what I'm saying. It is acting. At the end of the day, it becomes acting because you're not being you. You're not doing what you want to do.
Right.
You know, so we got to wake up. You got to become us. I mean, you know,
right.
Just got to do it. I think I am a believer in the whole animal instinct thing. I think we should follow her. There's no animal that says I'm hungry and I'm going to sit here and wait for somebody else to bring me food.
Right.
Right? When an animal's hungry, what does he do? He hunts. Right?
Right.
That's what we should be doing. We should be doing what we need to do when we need to do it and when we feel like we need to do it.
Yeah, and I think we're being cut off from that. We're getting mixed messages about that.
Well, yeah, there's a change in how we see masculinity now. So now it's frowned upon to be manly. I don't know. I'm not going to stop being who I am, but I guess it's a bad thing, you know, but it's not. I think if we lose that, then we lose a lot.
I think it's dangerous for a society.
It is. There's no blur lines in the animal kingdom of who the male is and who the female is. Why would there be any blur lines with humans? There should be no blur lines. There should be no question as to what's what and who does what, right? The roles in the animal kingdom are male does one thing, female does another. They're not mixed. And it doesn't say...
And also, both roles are incredibly important.
But that's what I'm saying. But everybody knows their role.
Right.
Right? And there's no question. You never see a lioness, fighting because she doesn't want to go hunting. Or waiting for the other lionesses to hunt and she's just there. That doesn't happen. What happens to her? She gets kicked out of the pride if she does that. And if a lion doesn't defend his pride, what happens?
Yeah.
They get taken over. The other lions come in and they take over, right? So, we forget about our animal instincts, I think. I don't think we follow them through. I don't think we do what we're supposed to do as animals.
I think at a bigger picture, you're starting to see that, what's happening globally between China and the United States. The Chinese are acting...
They're making us soft so they can come and take over. Right?
We're making us soft. I don't know who's making who's soft.
I'm going to tell you. Well, we are making us soft. We are doing that, right? They're imposing their will on us because we are being soft.
Totally.
Okay? If we don't stand up, then eventually they're going to come over here and do whatever they want. That's what's going to happen, right? That's the lion.
I think that's
the
already
lion
happened.
Attacking the head of this pride over here. Exactly. And this pride is just kind of cowering. That's what's happening. Maybe the roles are blurred here, and the lionesses are the ones barking at the lion over there, right? And that doesn't work, right? So that's why we need to really keep things where they're supposed to be in that sense, and we need to follow that instinct. We need to defend ourselves. Listen, I do martial arts. I don't believe in violence in the sense of like I'm going to go attack somebody for no reason. But if I get attacked, I'm going to defend myself. I learned this because when I was younger, I got bullied. So, and not that I didn't defend myself, but you need to defend yourself. And I think this country needs to defend itself. It's getting attacked. It's getting attacked from within, from outside, from everywhere. And it's kind of taking it. And that's scary.
We're weakening ourselves with our values and our whole... It's amazing.
That's a scary thing.
And we like it.
No,
I'd say the majority of the population likes it in a way. A good portion.
Maybe that's what they're letting us think, that the majority likes it, and I don't think the majority likes it.
I hope they don't.
I don't think that's how.
Well, let's put it this way: pop culture, media, entertainment is
they like it.
They at least I don't know if it's a Machiavellian strategy to weaken the population, then they become powerful. But that's the message they're giving out.
Well, right now, that is what it's looking like.
Right.
That is what it's.
That's probably what it is. I think it's probably a powerful group on top.
You think about it. Why would they do what they're doing? You see it. You see it clearly. What they're doing. They say things, then the other side says the same thing, and then that side is wrong. But we said the same thing, and it's okay. Right? So we can see it. We're noticing it. It's not like people are not noticing it. It's just that nobody's doing anything about it.
I've decided to look at the world in terms of power. Now I understand a lot of things that I didn't understand before.
Because you see power where...
All her motive is power.
It's power.
Right? So people that you think are doing irrational things, no. That's a power play.
And even those people that think that you think they're very rational and very caring, and they're doing it for power.
Totally. So, that's
a scary thought. But that's a conversation for a different time, and we're gonna get back to that. So I'm gonna let you go, sir. We did an hour and 22 minutes.
That's good.
Okay, but we'll get back in here and have another conversation.
See you on Monday.
Yes, sir.